morning, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for your patience. A very warm welcome to all of you for this special event, the launch of the Digital Threat Report 2024 for the BFSI sector. This report is a collaboration between CISA, CERTIN and CERTFIN, and we are truly privileged and honored to have the Honorable Secretary, Ministry of Electronics and Information Technology, Government of India, Shri S. Krishnan as our chief guest, along with Joint Secretary and Economic Advisor in the Department of Financial Services, Government of India, Shri Dr. Abhijit Foucan, Dr. Shri Sanjay Bail, Director General, CERTIN, for joining us today.
Dr. Sanjay Bail, the Director General, CERTIN, Dr. Abhijit Foucan, Joint Secretary and Economic Advisor in the Department of Financial Services, Ministry of Finance, Shri Darshan Shantamurthy, the Founder and CEO of CISA, ladies and gentlemen present here this morning. Today's event is significant for a number of reasons. We are releasing a digital threat report for the banking and financial services sector in the country. And this is important because for a number of reasons. I think first and foremost, we need to recognize, as has already been pointed out, that in many ways, because money is involved, the BFSI sector by very nature is what people in the cybersecurity world describe as a honey pot, where a lot of bees are attracted and a lot of honeybees and others are attracted to try and take advantage of what they can in terms of trying to either, this is in a sense the oldest sort of temptation in the world of trying to take away money from wherever easy money is to be made. Therefore, the risks are great, and the risks are great at an individual level, at a societal level, at an institutional level, and therefore need to be addressed on a priority basis. Equally, I think we should note that what the BFSI sector has done to address cybersecurity concerns is probably way ahead of many other sectors in the Indian economic and cybersecurity context. Clearly, all the regulators in the BFSI sector, whether it is the Reserve Bank of India, whether it is SEBI, whether it is IRDA, whether it is PFRDA, all of them have focused squarely on addressing concerns in the cybersecurity space. They have ensured that cybersecurity audits have been conducted in practically all the institutions on an ongoing and regular basis. Their stance in this space is something which deserves to be emulated by people in other areas. I think this is an important underlying message which even this report contains, and an important underlying message we need to take away from today's event. We would like to hold up the BFSI sector as an exemplar sector as far as what measures have been taken against cybersecurity overall are concerned. The number of attacks are the most, and they are the ones who have most successfully defended, most successfully responded. Many other sectors have to learn from this approach, have to understand how they can apply this approach significantly better. And I think that is what this report, true import today really is. And why do I say this? Because, generally cybersecurity, both at an institutional level and at an individual level, sometimes is taken a little casual. We assume that nothing will happen. We do not take adequate precautions. There are behavioral issues. Many of us are wont to share our login credentials quite comfortably with anybody. Very often, even machines, computers and others which are used are not even turned off at the end of a working day. There are very, very elementary mistakes that a lot of people make. They don't even log out of a sensitive account. All of these are vulnerabilities which we lose. And unless we learn all of this at an individual level, it doesn't translate into the kind of vigilance and awareness which you need at an organizational level, at an institutional level, and especially on a sector-wide basis. So which is why I think these events are important to highlight what needs to be done. And therefore, Mr. Foucan also underlined the importance of awareness in this entire space. An important area of work for the cybersecurity division in the Ministry of Electronics and Information Technology is actually awareness on cybersecurity. CERTIN, through its website and various other interventions, also works seriously on how we can increase the awareness of cybersecurity. Ministry works through the Data Security Council of India to achieve the same objective. In addition, with CDAC Hyderabad, we have a partnership where we bring out a lot of material. We run a program across different institutions in the country, awareness programs of both kinds, of enhancing the skill in the cybersecurity space, and at the same time ensuring that in the awareness of all of these elements is significantly greater. Those messages which we take away of greater vigilance, greater care towards cybersecurity is something which is very critical and something which the BFSI sector has recognized ahead of many of the others. And that is a message which other sectors need to take away in terms of how do you harden structures, how do you audit from a cybersecurity perspective, your systems, your hardware, your networks, and all the software and application software that is used. All of this need to be periodically audited. It applies equally to government entities, it applies to everybody. Especially with the Digital Personal Data Protection Act coming into force, many of us will suddenly find that if we are not careful enough with the data that we keep, and if the data leaks for data breaches, there could be very large liabilities and penalties which can be imposed. I don't want to sort of use that as a threat, but that is a reality, that we are not careful enough when we use all of these cybersecurity means, and that is something which is important. Alongside the role that regulators have clearly played in the BFSI sector, I also need to highlight the role that CERT-In has played. CERT-In today, there was talk of trust and why trust is very important in the cybersecurity space. If CERT-In has truly worked in a manner that enhances its credibility as a thoroughly professional technical organization, which everybody in government respects and relies on to make sure that their concerns on cybersecurity are addressed and that somebody is watching their back where it comes to cybersecurity related issues. And I think that role I would truly commend on this occasion. And clearly, government is committed to further strengthening CERT-In as an institution, both in terms of personnel, in terms of resources, in terms of capabilities and what they need in terms of equipment, because this is a role which will only grow and not diminish. And therefore, this is a space which we will continue to watch. And as the recent amendments to the allocation of business rules in the Government of India, where cybersecurity has been clearly allocated as a subject for MeitY, and the network security and telecom security in particular to the Department of Telecom, and cybercrime to the Ministry of Home Affairs, with an overall coordination role for the National Security Council Secretariat. I think the idea of providing technical guidance in this space and ensuring that technically issues are addressed in the cybersecurity space falls squarely within MeitY's ambit, and we take this role extremely seriously. All our agencies depend on it. All our agencies are periodically reviewed to make sure that we are fulfilling whatever are the assigned roles in each of these agencies, whether it is CERT-In, whether it is NIC, whether it is STQC, whether it is CDAC, or our partnership with DSCI and various other educational institutions whom we support. The other point that I would like to make today is that cybersecurity has multiple dimensions to it. This report does say a lot of things, but it also doesn't say many things. And that, I think, is important. At one level, it's a very interesting space where we need a public posture, where we need credibility in the public mind, where trust has to be built in the public mind. But at the same time, there are many capabilities. I don't think I would like many of you to know what we know. Equally, I don't think I would like you to know what we don't know either. So it's important that we maintain a posture where there are certain capabilities and capacities that are built up in these organizations which are best not publicized or best not known, simply because we are dealing with adversaries. We are not in a particularly friendly neighborhood. We are dealing with a range of adversaries, and it's best that it is a bit of a cloak and dagger cat and mouse game that needs to be played out, and some of that confidentiality and some degree of discretion in the way that capabilities are presented is important. While I want to emphasize that there is constant vigilance. I would not want to sort of advertise every capability or capacity that we have. At the same time, having said that, I think it's important that, again, cybersecurity is a funny world where one part of it is in the shadows, but the other part of it is in full public glare in terms of, or more than even public glare, it needs to be played out in collaboration with a range of institutions. We need to work in collaboration with a lot of private institutions, with private companies and the private sector. Today, in the information technology space, in the digital space, the private sector is a much bigger player than the government itself is in a number of areas, which means that what you see as threats and what you see as your surface of attack is significantly larger than what even government's own surface of attack would be. Of course, the sophistication of the attacks may not be as sophisticated as what a state actor or a state player can put out, but clearly there are a number of attacks that you suffer and a number of issues that you have to protect against. You have developed in the private sector considerable capacities which the government would do well to learn from, which is why we believe that there needs to be a constant process of exchange, a constant process of working with the private sector to figure out where your capacities are, the way in which you can take it forward. And that needs to be a constant interface which happens. In most countries of the world, their organizations similar to certain maintain a public profile and a public posture simply to keep this element of collaboration and cooperation with the public, with the private sector entities and others ongoing on a continuous basis. Likewise, with academia and research institutions, we have a continuous collaboration which goes on, and we support a number of programs in that space to make sure that it contributes to what we can do in the cybersecurity space. But lastly, I think I would like to emphasize one aspect. There was talk of Atmanirbharta in cybersecurity. Clearly, I think if there is one area within the entire gamut of what we do in IT, and everywhere we need to have trusted value chains and trust in where the software is coming from, where the hardware is coming from, where the firmware is coming from, and so on. All that is important. But more than anything else, in the cybersecurity space, having domestic technological and technical capacities is absolutely crucial. This is one space where it is each country, each nation to themselves. Nobody is going to share the most advanced features of whatever cybersecurity defenses they have. Nobody is going to share with you the kind of hidden backdoors and everything else that different types of software could potentially have. So we have to have domestic capabilities, which is one reason why I think both in terms of research and development and in terms to enable the development of technical and technological capacities, and in terms of promoting domestic cybersecurity oriented startups, particularly in the deep tech space, MeitY has been very keen on working in this space, and we have a number of initiatives where we are promoting startups and research in this area. We've been supporting a range of organizations. We've been also ensuring there have been cases where we've seen a startup doing something good in the cybersecurity space. We have actually bought their product straight away. We have without hesitation gone ahead and supported them through procurement. And we've supported them to enable them to grow. We've worked with them closely and used their applications in areas where we feel they would be relevant and important. So in each of these spaces, I think it's important that we build domestic capacity, we support our startups, we support our innovators, because this, I think, most of the deep tech space, honestly, is something which is best suited to be disrupted through innovation and through startups, and which is why I think we believe we have an important role in supporting them. So this is broadly, I think, our, in a sense, our approach to the way we are trying to address the cybersecurity question. It's a critical question. As we get more and more digitalized, we cannot rest easy on this. It is a matter of eternal vigilance. This is an area where we have to constantly keep working to keep up with developments across the world. We have to sort of protect ourselves against the newer forms of threat which develop. We have to ensure that it becomes a way of life, ensuring that the basic cybersecurity hygiene factors are constantly something that people follow to ensure that they do not add to the vulnerabilities that we have. There could be some inconveniences to what we had previously, but we have to learn that this is the price we pay, and this is the eternal vigilance that we need to exercise. And I think it's a duty. I mean, it's something that affects each one of us, and something that all of us are duty bound to contribute to. And as a government and as agencies in government, we also have a primary duty to ensure that we stay at the forefront of this technology. We are constantly abreast of what needs to happen in this space, and we work with the appropriate technical organizations and with the technical expertise to address these challenges as and when they come up. In that sense, I think this particular report today, the Digital Threat Report of 2024, is a welcome addition to the literature in this space. It will certainly draw us to the importance of cybersecurity again, and the measures that we need to take, especially in a critical sector like BFSI. And it has come through after vetting by organizations like the Reserve Bank of India and SEBI and others, who are very, very careful in the way that the material is put out. So I would really commend this report, and I would once again commend both CERTIN and CISA for having brought out this report. I believe it is extremely timely, and it will serve as an example not just to cybersecurity as a whole, but what the BFSI sector has achieved, how others can also achieve. This would truly serve as an exemplar. Thank you very much, and thank you again for the patient listening.
But you have to give us clear instances, and also as far as personal data leak is concerned and the kind of action that you're speaking of is possible once the DPDP Act is brought into force.
And so, how soon we can see this DPDP Act coming into this?
See, we've received the comments, detailed comments on the rules. We are examining them rule by rule. We are examining what the comments are and if any changes are required. We may have to complete another process of internal consultation after that is completed. So I would estimate it will take about 6 to 8 weeks for this to happen.
And coming on to these tariffs, do you have anything in the mind to push the exports, because we can give more incentives to the companies?
Vietnam has already taken action.
Some countries are already pushing this.
See, the point is, I think tariffs are not something which relate to one sector. This is an issue on which the Commerce Ministry is taking a uniform stance across various ministries. I mean, for us, electronics related tariffs are of course important, and what happens in that sector is important. Right now, we are at a position which is relatively advantageous in the electronics sector compared to other competitive nations on when tariffs have been imposed. There's of course another detailed agreement which has to be negotiated and worked out with the United States. We will provide our inputs to the Commerce Ministry, which will be the lead there.
What is the government doing to hold its
I think that is a point I made here today, that what the BFSI sector has achieved in the space of cybersecurity is significantly important, and therefore that is something which needs to be emulated in other sectors. I mean, that is an important and key point. The second thing is, I think there are two parts to this. One part to this is that there's also greater awareness in terms of reporting. I think the fact that more incidents are reported is something which immediately should not be taken up as a tool with which, or as a stick with which you beat the people who do the reporting, because traditionally in India people are wont not to report many of these breaches. So it's a good thing that reporting is happening, so that we understand what is the extent of the problem and where the problems are coming up. Now, these are cybersecurity attacks. It does not necessarily mean that all of them are breaches. It also means that our overall surveillance is improving. It also means that we have more capacity to find out what is happening across the entire cybersecurity space. So I would not be alarmist in saying that just because the number of attacks has increased, we are more vulnerable, or there's been a bigger loss in terms of what is happening. It means that the vigilance has improved. It means that surveillance has improved. It means that a number of other aspects have improved. But I just request DG Sultan to just join me here.